So manuals are just that. You look at them, there's no force of law behind them.
No, actually, there is a force of law because they are adopted by council.
So if a developer doesn't follow a manual, a
Mhm.
landscape manual, for example, what happens?
That you can get certain waivers to certain manuals.
Okay, well, actually, I'm glad that you brought up
Mhm.
waivers because we had a legislative session on Monday night,
Mhm.
and one of the bills in front of us was to make the waiver process public. And we don't really know what the how the three people who actually decide whether to grant waivers, how they actually go about doing it. And I said maybe they call each other on the phone. Maybe they just send the director of DPZ an email that says approved. I have no idea. And
Sure.
since you're here and we were just discussing this and you mentioned waivers, this might be a good time to explain how waivers are conducted.
Absolutely. So there's two different types of waivers. So those waivers that you're talking about are our waivers like our forest con, stormwater management, steep slope waivers. So that's the ones that have
Those
to
are
be
the ones
decided.
I'm familiar with.
Sure. Yep. And then there's also the design manual waivers. So, to our traffic, our roads, storm drains, structural, our DAF design waivers, things like that, which are more administrative. So the ones that you're referring to are done by the three directors, depending on if it falls under the stormwater management, steep slopes features, or the forest conservation features, depends on what directors are involved in what waivers. But a developer who's coming in and submits a waiver to a certain part of the code that they would want a waiver to.
Let's use a hypothetical.
Okay.
Somebody is a developer who's
Mm-hmm.
seeking a waiver
Mm-hmm.
for steep slopes,
Mm-hmm.
filling in a a water area,
Mm-hmm.
and tearing down specimen trees, and uprooting forest conservation on one singular lot.
Okay. So they would have to do two different waiver submissions for each type of waiver that they're requesting, or alternative compliance, I should say. So they fill out the form, they have to meet certain criteria and justify why there's a particular hardship that's not self-imposed or financial, why they need this particular waiver. So they submit through our system, our electronic system, requesting what to this particular request is, why they need it, and what the conditions are that led up to this. Then staff for the different departments that are hearing whatever different type of
Well, the
alternative.
conditions are they bought the
Uh,
land and those were the features on the land.
sure.
So they wanted waivers for all of those things.
Depends on what they're
Those are
building.
typically the conditions.
Well, it also
So let's
depends
hypothetically assume that too.
depends on what they're building. If there's a road that needs to go through, I mean, there's a lot of different issues that can happen on a piece of property that may necessitate that can't be avoided for whatever reason. So all sorts of scenarios come through. When those scenarios come through, they put in their petition why, again, this is a particular hardship that cannot be avoided. So that is then given staff from each of the departments, DPW, Office of Community Sustainability, DPZ, Rec and Parks, whoever
So
is.
DPZ is also part of DPZ sits with this, well, I don't know again if you actually
So,
sit.
so let me finish here. So
Okay.
staff get this information and they review it
And
again.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. The third
Sure.
one is Rec and Parks, right?
Depending. So, if it's a forest conservation waiver type of concern, it is Recreation and Parks, it is DPZ, and it is OCS. If it's a stormwater management, steep slope, storm waterway compliance, it is DPW is substituted out for Recreation and Parks. So, two different types of waivers would have to be submitted. So,
But DPZ always does sit then on this with this group of
correct,
three. Then
correct,
that's the third
and so does
person.
OCS.
I did not know that. Okay. And so how do you
So
then,
let me finish. So,
okay.
so comes in, staff does a very thorough review from all the different departments, looking at what the issues are and what is being requested. They review it, then they give us their staff technical assessment of what is being requested. We have a meeting. Sometimes we go out on the site to review what the request is. If the request seems like it's unreasonable or too much, sometimes we'll say, you know what, we need to revise and resubmit. And we go back to them saying, you need to change a couple of things.
Let's say that didn't happen. Let's say you didn't ask that. Then do you meet? Let's say
Yes,
you
we do
didn't go
meet.
to the site. Do you meet in person?
Sometimes, and sometimes we mostly meet virtually, depending on what the schedules are for that particular week. But we have a standing meeting weekly.
And that's where you discuss who on the DPZ staff is part of that three.
Well, so the directors are the ones who make the decisions.
That's what I thought. So
But the
it's you.
staff are the ones who review the technicalities.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So it's you, Mr. Latimer, and either um, Mr. Cabetti, Cabetti or, yeah,
Correct.
Monahan. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. And then after you make that decision, that's when you determine whether or not to grant the waiver.
Well,
Or you then take that decision and you
right. And
inform the people at DPZ who are writing the whatever the letter is about
right.
the waiver.
And so a lot of times it's not at face value. It's waiver with conditions, and that's what's called alternative compliance. So it's not at face value of what the request is, depending on, if it's maybe 3 trees came in to be requested and we say, only 1 tree, change this up. And for that 2 trees that are being removed out of the 3 you've requested, you need to do X, Y, and Z. So, there's so many different variables. So the initial request that comes in is typically not what the final approval is for any of those cases.
Well, that was not my community's experience, but yeah, every waiver was granted in full. But yeah. Okay.
Okay, did we finish the process though? Is there a vote taken at that meeting?
Yes, there is a vote taken.
Is there like someone who's the recording secretary or something?
Yes. And that is Mr. Cataldo from our department.
Oh, Mr. Cataldo's also there.
Yes, and all our staff are present.
Why is Mr. Cataldo the recording
Because
secretary?
DLD is the one who runs the reviews, typically, because all projects come in through Division of Land Development.
And when you say all other staff, the people who wrote whatever the
Correct. For the whoever
staff technical assessment.
Correct.
Is Office of Law there?
No,
Why isn't Office of Law there?
it's not there's no legal questions typically that we have. These are very technical questions.
There's no legal questions today, but Miss Myhouse sitting right there. Mr. Cook was here this morning.
Okay.
That was the crack. I wish I could have meetings without Office of Law sitting on my shoulder. But you guys make decisions all the time to waive the law without any Office of Law input.
Well,
And the analysis for the bill that we just voted down, and when I say that, I'm putting it you, Christiana, and you, David, is 2/3 of the time you grant those waivers from law without any input from Office of Law. But so you have a meeting, you take a vote, and the recording secretary, Anthony Cataldo, measures that vote, and then what happens?
it's either approved or denied the waiver.
But you don't call the applicant and say it's approved or denied. There's a written product
Correct.
that's generated,
It's a
right?
DNO, yes.
So that's what I'm talking about. What happens next?
It's sent out.
Who writes it?
Staff. And then we all sign it.
The same staff who put together the staff technical assessment?
Yes.
Is it always the same staff?
It's the staff person who does the main review, so it can vary.
Who are the staff people who do those reviews?
It depends on the department who is the most technically adept person at doing it. So I can't say who always reviews it for OCS or DPW or.
Oh,
Rec and Park.
I'm sorry. I misunderstood you. I thought only DPZ staff was involved.
No, it's the staff from the other agencies as well.
Okay, so there's
And we combine their comments.
someone from DPZ, someone from OCS, and someone from Rec and Parks or
DPW.
Public Works is always there.
Mhm.
Okay, and then those at least 3 people then go and collectively write a decision in order.
Yeah, we take their comments and we combine all the comments together.
We DPZ,
Yes.
we Anthony Cataldo.
Or whoever he designates as the staff person. I don't get into the minutia of who's exactly writing what, but it comes from his shop and he reviews them. And then we
So-
all sign off on them.
If I were to identify the 3 people who are involved in every single waiver that this county extends, it would be you
Yes.
as director of DPZ. It would be Tim Latimer as
Correct.
the administrator of the Office of Community Sustainability, and it would be Anthony Cataldo.
He's a part of it, but he's not a signatory on it.
Okay. All right, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Ms. Young, but
You
you did not
did. I'm
finish.
sorry,
And
but
it's a big deal to some of us.
it is a big deal. It is a really big deal. It was
I'll-
a big
I will
enough
go
deal
ahead.
that Ms. Walsh filed an excellent piece of legislation to bring some more sunshine to this
And I will
process.
say
It's not over. We'll file a Public Information Act request.
That's what I was thinking
every
you
2
were
weeks,
just doing.
and we
Yeah.
will publish that for the benefit of this
Yep.
county if the executive branch cannot bother to do so.
Yep.
I mean,
And
and that's the stupidest solution ever, but that's the only way I see to daylight this very important subject matter.
And I will say everything is posted online, and there is a dashboard that's posted online, and all of the information is also posted online, so it is accessible.
All the notes?
We don't keep any notes online, but you do get to see all the reports.
Okay, yeah, I've seen the reports, but not the notes, or of course, not knowing what's going on in the meetings. So my other question was Route 1.
Well, we'll circle around.
Okay.